my name's Lindy Cowling and my website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. I'm standing here in the middle of a meadow on the Wiltshire-Somerset border in the United Kingdom. Smiling away here because we've been filming and we've lost all batteries and all power to our equipment 6 times already, which sometimes happens when you're working with energy and when you're working with a medium clairvoyant as well. So what I'm going to talk about here is quite a heavy subject to cover when you're standing in the middle of a meadow on a summer's day, but it's the loss and the separation that can happen with twin flames, and what very often happens with twin flames. People will say to me, why does that happen, and is that supposed to happen, and why do twin flames separate? To be honest, it's an evolutionary process, it's a spiritual process, and when the initial ignition, that very intense connection, the angelic connection, the reality of what a twin flame is, the reality of the purity of the soul, when that frequency starts to drop and twins go into their emotional body, into their egos, all hell breaks loose, like it would with anybody. And twins aren't immune to that. If anything, we go through the intensity even more so. It's magnified, intensified and amplified. So any blocks in the energy field, any problems in what we call the mental body, the emotional body, the etheric body, that is going to be amplified and intensified to the nth degree, 10th degree in a twin flame union. So a lot of them get to the stage, most of us, myself included, because I will never ever talk about anything on camera that I haven't experienced. That's an important point I need to make. I talk from experience and from working with clients worldwide. I don't ever cover anything that's just a theory or somebody else's idea. When this happens, it's a profoundly shocking for the people involved, and I will use the term soul shock. When you've had a connection of this magnitude and then one or the other of you breaks away, the union breaks down, and for all the reasons that I've covered on many other videos, where it break down because of the personal situation, because of other people's interference, because the frequency drops, because of judgment programming, because of blocks in the energy field. When all this stuff is involved, and also I refer again to Goldraytwinflames, Mel and Nicole, they talk about the 5-body meld and merge. When twins have been together physically, I don't mean an internet connection where they haven't actually met. When they've been around each other, maybe lived together or worked together or been intimate with one another, when they've had this merge on all levels, not just spiritual, but actually embodiment of it, right the way down into the physical body, that creates a tremendous shock on the system when they go apart, and the grief with that is pretty horrific. I can say that from experience. It's devastating, absolutely devastating, because the loss is felt not just in the emotional body, but the loss is felt right the way through to the level of soul and spirit. People watching this will say, oh, but that's ridiculous because you always have your twin in your heart, and we know you're still connected as one soul and spirit. Yes, that's true. But when you've merged on all levels and then suddenly you are separate from each other, so you're not communicating in this life, you're not seeing each other in this life, you're not around each other in this life, and one or both twins have gone off with someone else, or remained with someone else, or left for someone else, or dropped frequency, it is what you would term, in a way, like a kind of death. Only the corpse is still walking around, which is what happens, which is what can happen. This is how some people can have these connections, and suddenly it's as if the twins don't recognise each other anymore, they don't resonate anymore, because the twin flame union is a 5th dimensional, heart-centred, spiritual connection. And when twins drop into a third dimensional personality and relationship kind of template, which isn't the twin flame union, this frequency can't function at that. It's not that frequency. So it is like a death, and it feels like a death, and you will go through an intense and immense grieving process. Everyone's different. You have to honour the fact that you are grieving. There is a balancing act between grieving and then prolonged suffering that goes on and on. You can easily get caught up into this cycle of suffering, which I brought out a video on that, where you can loop into that obsessive cycle and be suffering unnecessarily. But anybody who says you don't have to go through a grieving process when a connection of that magnitude is torn asunder hasn't experienced it. It's devastating, but you have to move forward from that, and you will grow from that, and you will move forward, and it will be a great part of your spiritual evolution. Nobody wants to go through that, nobody wants that to happen, but you know, this is par for the course, and it happens in most twin flame connections. There are some, because they have had smooth backgrounds, not complicated bloodlines to clear, who will not have this happen to them. They will not have twins separating, they won't have to go through that loss. It will be smoother, but I really can count on one hand worldwide how many times that happens. Most of them go through this separation. Sometimes it's permanent because one or the other of the twins can't get their act together, and they prefer to remain in the head. They prefer narcissism, they prefer manipulation, they prefer control, they prefer power, and they don't want to face the consequences of honouring who they truly are. They don't want to, in effect, honour the mission. The saddest thing is when a twin does that, they're actually running away from themselves and the reason they are here, but there is the knock-on effects to that is that they are not honouring their own spirit and soul, which means in effect they're turning their back on their own ascension. That's a big statement to make, but it's accurate. Ascension is descension down into the heart and the elevation of consciousness into the heart, living from a vibration of the heart. There are very few twin flames on this planet that are both in their heart, both doing separate missions, because we came here as a template because we are much more powerful, united really, the embodiment of that, than apart. What you will get is that when the twins separate, either temporarily or permanently, you will get one usually that is the stronger, more spiritually and stronger in soul and more from the heart, that will step forward and do the mission on their own, which is, you know, what I've seen and what I've experienced. And the other one will try and do similar or turn their back on it completely, but on a lower, what I call a different level. When I say lower, I'm not judging that, but it's a different level, it's a third dimensional level. So they will do the best they can with the level of consciousness that they're at, or trying to suppress to stay in, and the other twin will go forward. But like I say, it's a tragedy because the twins that do this are blocking their own ascension. Not just twins, but anybody in these connections that are not honouring their truth, that are not living their truth, that are not showing who they truly are, who have not got the qualities of integrity, purity and honesty, are all falling into that category where they are blocking their own ascension, stopping their own ascension. People think that we've got this unlimited time scale on ascension, you know, that yeah, well, I'll ascend in X amount of years' time. I'm afraid that, again, that's a load of old tosh, quite frankly. There was a window of opportunity. That window of opportunity is virtually closed now, where decisions were made on the level of the spirit and soul by those representations of consciousness, by those people. Will I honour and who I truly am on this level or not? And many on this planet said no. And some of them were in twin flame unions and some of them weren't. And many others stepped forward and said yes. what I can tell you is when you go through this process of loss, is that you will get through it, no matter how devastating, no matter how awful it seems, and you will come out of it really knowing who you truly are and honouring who you truly are. And for some people it will be the making of them, because they will move forward. You know, they may not move forward in the way that they had hoped or as the unit they had hoped, but they will move forward. I can tell you also that for those of you that have gone through this loss, is if you keep sitting waiting for these connections to come back and putting your life on hold, it will never happen, because you are blocking your own moving forward and you're blocking your own frequency. You must let it go on all levels. You must honour yourself, stand in your own power, be true to yourself. That's the only way that you can move forward personally, but that's the only way that you stand any chance of bringing these unions into fruition much later on. I realise this is a really tough one. I had to be in the right space to talk about it, because I've been through that level of loss, the most devastating thing I've ever been through in my life. But I can talk about it on camera now because I'm not in my emotional body about that now. I've matured beyond that. I've unblocked what needed to be blocked there, and that's why I'm able to talk about it freely and happily on camera now. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you, and we'll be back on camera soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.